Good evening, everybody. It feels weird to be here on a Saturday night, but yeah, welcome. Um, Tonight, I before we get into today's topic, I just want to say that Saturdays are going to be more lighthearted. Um, there may be some nature stuff thrown in, like today's topic. Uh, but don't expect there to always be nature topics. So, for instance, next week, we are not doing a science topic. We are actually going to be having a trivia night. Um, so you are more than welcome to come in for that. You won't be chased away. If you can't see chat, you can get in another way. That's okay. Um, I am ready to go live, and hopefully we get people. That's the idea. Wow, that's weird. Look at that light coming in. Excuse me whilst I get this set up. Trying to get Instagram lined up. And, well, I still don't like it. Just gonna move you guys over. Okay. Anyway, tonight we are talking about my nature experiences, how you can have some nature experiences along with me, or not along with me, but your own nature experiences, because that's what it's all about. Um, and nature can be a really tricky thing. I'm also not wearing my regular glasses, so if you see me squinting a little bit, because I'm wearing my other glasses and I'm not used to wearing them, so my eyes are a little bit funny. Um, but let's, I guess, get into this. And also, if you see me messing with my hands and you can't see what I'm doing, I'm coloring. Um, I love coloring. I find it really, really soothing sometimes. And I haven't done it in a while, so I'm really excited to actually get back into it. I know it's really weird for a grown man to color, but you know what? I like it, so I'm gonna do it. Um, Nature experiences can really vary, and they can vary a lot because sometimes you're gonna have nature experiences that are amazing. You're gonna have nature experiences that are stuff that you will never forget. And some nature stuff is just going to be that. It's just going to be you and nature, and maybe even a little bit sacred on some level or another. If that's a thing that you want to call it. So I have always loved nature. And one of my earliest memories in nature actually happened at my grandma's house. My grandma lived in a county that is about an hour away from us. She lived on a sandhill and had wild garlic growing on it. It had Indian fig growing on it. If you don't know what that is, oh my gosh, Indian fig is hold on, it'll come to me. It is a type of cactus. It's actually a it is actually a prickly pear cactus. There I go. And I didn't really know what it was. I mean, I knew what it was, but didn't know what it was. And so I managed to get my fingers in it and got the glockids in me. If you have never got glockids in you, yeah, it's not fun. It's like a sliver, but not a sliver. Very irritating, painful, and they're hard to see. At least on the eastern prickly pear. So I've had to deal with that. Also at my grandma's house. True story. We went out blueberry picking because my grandma had blueberry plants out in the back field. Sorry, guys. So may have to pause live. But we went down, we're picking blueberries off the plants and doing our thing, and next thing I know, I reached out my hand to grab some blueberries, and there was a bat. Not a baseball bat, but a bat in the tree right in front of me. So I yelled, and my grandma sent my brother to go get something from the house, a Pringles can, so typical of my grandma. And they managed to get it inside the Pringle can, and the bat was safely released into one of the outbuildings. Also at my grandma's house, we encountered my very first box turtle. Now, I don't know how old I was, can't tell you. All I know is that poor thing, by the end of our time with it, probably was so dizzy. I was young. I might have been 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there. Probably not 8, probably closer to 6 or 7. And that poor thing. Had I had kids and they had done that, I'd probably be very upset with them. But being kids, you learn. Later, as a teenager, I discovered snakes. And I discovered garter snakes. So that was my first encounter with them. I had grabbed a garter snake, picked it up, and she didn't strike. it was a very docile snake. I managed to get her inside a bucket and kept her in my room, made sure she had water and food and all that stuff. Shouldn't have had her, but I did. And one day, out of the blue, there were 25 baby garter snakes in the bucket. And that's how I learned that garter snakes gave live birth. It was very, very cool. So I may retell a couple of those stories because somebody just came in and I'm like, yeah, I need to. So no, you know what? I won't. I'm gonna move on. You guys don't want to hear retellings. So another time, I believe as a teenager, we had gone. I had to be in Boy Scouts. It was just one of those things in my family. You're gonna do it, so you do it. I was 11, and we had gone out to these hills with my dad was in my dad's family, and they're sand hills. Didn't think much of it. Went exploring and came across a snake. I had never seen it before, but I knew. No, not at the dunes. No, this was on property that my dad's family used to own. So we went down and I'm exploring, and this is in the middle of a let me put this into perspective. It is in the middle of a field, like a legit cornfield, except it hadn't been planted yet. So we're there and everything is cool. We did some arrowhead hunting and whatnot. And the snake sees us and goes into defensive mode. So it flattens out its head. Sort of looks like it has a hood, like you would think of a cobra might. The scoutmaster that I was with got really scared, and as my memory serves me, he yelled cobra. Of course, it's not a cobra. I had stumbled across an eastern hognose snake. They are mildly venomous. Probably nothing that's going to hurt you, but they're known for their defensive mechanisms. One of them is playing dead, and the other one is flattening out the head and making themselves look bigger. And so that was one nature experience. Now, let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about snakes and you for a second. So snakes are really cool, but they can be scary. I'm not gonna lie about that. If you don't know that they're there and all of a sudden you have a snake in front of you, it can be scary. Especially if they're big, or if you don't know what it is, or if you think it might be venomous, it can be scary. The trick to snakes, and any snake, if you don't know what it is, back away, give it space. It's going to figure out that you're there. Chances are, if you wait, it's going to go. You're going to have a unique nature experience watching that snake go. And chances are, it's probably not venomous, But, there's a small chance that it might be venomous. Leave it alone. Don't pick it up. Don't mess with it. I don't care if it's dead. Don't touch it. And there's a reason for not messing with dead snakes. The reason you don't mess with a dead snake is dead snakes can bite. If they're freshly dead, the nerves are still firing, you can still get bit. And it could be a fatal bite. Leave the snakes alone. Don't kill them. Don't chomp them. Don't bite them. Leave them alone. Okay, moving on. So, snakes are cool. It's not uncommon for me to get a snake to a point where I can hand feed it. And when I say hand feed it, that's exactly what I mean. You put the food in the palm of your hand, you hold the snake in the other hand, and then you hope and pray that when the snake grabs the food, because your hand is flat, that the snake gets the food and not you. I was always successful, never got bit, had some really cool nature experiences that way. I don't suggest you do that at all. I was a kid and didn't think much about it. The reason I say don't do that is if you have a snake or you're around a snake and they pick up on the scent on your hand, you're going to take a bite. And sad to say, but if you are handling like a rat or a mouse or something, and that snake picks up on those scents on your hand, they're going to grab your hand. And let me tell you something, pythons and boas have some crazy teeth. You could take a bite, and it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be like a little pinprick. No, not going to happen. And that goes for any snake. So another really cool nature experience that I got to share, my brother many years ago made the decision to rehab some robins. I don't condone that. You should not do that. If you have birds that come down in your yard, you should seek out a rehabber. Most DNRs, most Department of Natural Resources, Fish and Wildlife people, they will have a list. You contact them, they put you in contact with them, whatever, and the babies are taken to them. My brother decided to raise these. And so for a summer, or for a while, he was feeding these birds every 2 hours, insects, worms, whatever. And as they matured, they were flying in his garage. And you would go in, you would whistle, and they would come to you. And these are wild birds. Eventually, they disappeared. Never seen them again. But it was crazy. It was crazy. Another really cool nature experience that I've had is we were coming home from, I think I was coming home from work. Probably, I don't know. That's why you shouldn't do that. A lot of birds, though, will also rely on mom to bring them food. I don't know. That's why you should not rehab wildlife. One, because it's actually illegal to do that, but you don't know what diseases might be there either. So the problem is the nest fell out of the tree. So there was no nest to really put back. Now, would the parents come to the nest? I don't know. And they had cats that came and went, so I don't even know if they would have survived being left out like that. So another really cool nature experience, sometimes you get visitors. Unexpected visitors. I've had quite a few of these actually. One time I was in my house, upstairs in my room, and I could hear this call, this bird sound. And so I got really curious. And I went outside and I found a bird, and it was a bobwhite. Now, if you don't know what a bobwhite is, a bobwhite is a game bird. It's a type of quail. And they actually have a call that goes bobwhite, basically. And he was in the yard. I got to watch him. I got to see him peck around in the yard for stuff. Another time, we had a wild turkey in the neighborhood. We've seen deer in my neighborhood. We've had possum in my neighborhood. We've had a skunk in my neighborhood. I've seen fox just a few houses down from us. You're gonna have wildlife in your area no matter what. Blue jays. Yeah. And blue jays are smart. We've always had birds in the house. If you're new to my channel and you can't see chat, if you click open an app, you might be able to get into YouTube and watch it. They can be mean. That actually is a good lead into my next story. Oh, before I do that though, if you have kids and you have wildlife that appear in your yard out of nowhere, please pull them aside, keep them at a distance, but let them watch the wildlife. It'll be one of those things that is going to draw you in and is a memory that your kid is going to have maybe for life. You never know. Another sort of cool wildlife experience. My nephew, one of my brother's friends, not a nephew, shot a fox squirrel. If you don't know what a fox squirrel is, they're large. They have sort of a reddish tinge to them. So, yeah, and they're native to the area. So it got shot by the friend's BB gun, by the kid's brother. My brother and my sister-in-law brought it home after being at the vet, and they had to keep it for a few days until it could be released again. So we're out on the front yard, out on the front porch, me and my sister-in-law, and this squirrel comes up out of nowhere. She's got a piece of bread in her hand. She's eating it. And up comes the squirrel and just yanks that bread out of her hand and goes running off with it. Pretty sure it's the same squirrel. Never happened again. Hi, good morning, good evening. If you're new to the channel, give the YouTube a like if you can see it. If you can't see it, click on open an app and you should be able to get in the chat. Participate. It's always cool to see fresh faces. Say hello. If not, whatever. Um, but you want to be careful interacting with wildlife like that because mammals can carry rabies as well as other diseases. So, um, maybe don't do that. Maybe don't hand feed them. Be really careful. We talked about this last night. If you feed your animals outside or you feed any animals outside, you're going to draw in other animals. It's going to happen. You're going to have raccoons if you live in the United States. You're going to have skunks, possum, maybe. Um, you don't know what diseases they have. You don't know what's going to be passed on. So be careful about it. Okay, so another story. Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, that is awesome. In fact, I've had that experience myself when I was in elementary school, 6th grade. There we had a again a pine tree ish, a conifer that was out by the window, and it had a robin's nest in it, and you could stand there, and they knew they were safe, and you could watch the babies. It was so cool. Um, Another really cool thing happened when I was in Boy Scouts. Oh, cool. So cool. Is we were out hiking on a trail and there was a deer on the trail not too far away. There were hundreds of kids passing through. There was a guy and his dog on a leash. This animal was 5 feet off the trail. I could have reached out and touched it. Didn't move. It was the coolest thing ever, I thought. Um, those memories are good. Let me talk about that though. Deer aren't gonna bite, but deer can defend themselves. And what they will do is they will kick with their front feet. If you see an animal like that, give them space. I think it's recommended 25 yards, something like that. Um, Take pictures. Don't pet them. They're wild animals. Let them do their things. Yeah, they will kick, and it can do damage. So give them space. Another really, really cool nature experience that I had is I used to collect cans and bird watch at the same time. And we have a little lake near our house, not really near our house, but within 6 blocks. And this place had a little island on it. Hello, how are you? Um, and Carol, you could go there and the birds there would be birds out there. Sometimes there would be herons or ducks or geese. This particular day, there was a hawk-like bird up in one of the trees. So, um, I had my bike and I got on my bike and I rode home so fast. Grabbed my binoculars, grabbed a bird book, hoping that bird was still there. And it was. It was still there. I was so happy. I got out my binoculars and I'm looking at that bird. Nope, not a kestrel. Way too small. Way too big. Um, it was an osprey. If you don't know what an osprey is, ospreys are a bird-eating hawk, smaller than um a bald eagle, but exclusively fish eaters. Anyway, um If you can't see me, or if you can hear me but you can't participate in chat, you can get on Instagram. It's Nature Guy X12, I think. Yeah. Periodically, yes. You can see them here. Absolutely. But getting out and bird watching is really good exercise. And if you like photography, that's even better. Because then you can take pictures of the birds and identify them later. But there, oh my gosh, there's so many birds in this area. Talking about that, my dad was heavy into Boy Scouts, right? Real heavy. And so we would go camping, whatever. He wanted to take the boys to go rifle shooting. Now, I'm a small guy. I'm 5 foot at the most. Um, if I haven't shrunk, I might have shrunk. I don't know, but I'm at least 5 foot. Um, Smaller because I was younger back then, and I'm not very big. Like, that's my wrist, and I have small hands. Um, so shooting a gun, not my thing. Never has been, never will be. Um, so I would escape, and I would go to the tower to watch the birds, and I got to see sandhill cranes. It was the coolest thing ever. These birds can stand almost as tall as I am, and they are just the coolest things to watch. And sometimes, if you're lucky, there are other birds mixed in with the flock. Uh, I have seen osprey, I've seen hawks, I've seen um, tons of birds. If you are knowledgeable and you're watching now through March, the sandhill cranes will pass through overhead. They look like herons. Oh no, they don't, because herons look different. Um, and I'll tell you how you can tell the difference between a goose, because these birds will sometimes fly in a V formation. Goose and sandhill cranes do not sound the same. Very different. A heron, when they fly, they tuck their neck in, and so you get sort of a U shape with the neck, and then the head and the beak. Cranes are gonna fly sort of up high, um, and they don't always fly in a V formation. Very cool to see. Get your kids out there, let them see them. These are birds that have been around for forever. We actually have fossil record of these birds. That's how old this bird is. Some of these birds nest as far away as the Arctic. Not all of them, but some of them. So when you see them passing through, it's something to think about. Another time in scouting, hawks are cool, bats are really cool too. Talk about bats in a second. Um, we were again at a scout camp. We were out in Alaska, not Alaska, I'm sorry. We were out in Ontario on the middle of this lake. And I was promised that we would see bald eagles. Never saw one. That's okay. But in the mornings, before anybody got up, if you were the first one awake, you could hear loons calling out on the lake. So cool. So cool. Um, Enjoy that, but don't throw rocks at them. Just listen to them. It's so amazing. Another time, we were at a scout camp and we were having a campfire type activity down by the lake, and bats don't typically drink the way that we think of drinking. They will come down, zoom across the surface of the water, grab a drink, and fly back up. And so during this campfire presentation, I was watching the bats coming down and landing, not landing, but grabbing a drink and flying off. Very cool. Be safe. Watch the bats. They're not really interested in you. If they get too close and you're not comfortable with that, go inside. There's always a nature experience waiting for you. I promise you that. You just have to keep your eyes open and be open to that whole scenario, because they're cool and they're fleeting sometimes. I have had hummingbirds within 5 feet of me. Awesome. And you can do that too if you have the right flowers growing at your house, because that's what's going to draw in hummingbirds. Another really cool nature experience happened to me while we were going out west. If you know anything about sandhill cranes, you will know that the Platte River in Nebraska, for some reason, is a stopover for them on their migration. We went through very early on in the year, and they were just everywhere. Like, when I say millions, I mean millions. It was the coolest thing. Another really cool thing about going out west are rest areas. And no, they're boring, but you would be surprised how much wildlife can be around a rest area. There was one rest area in particular in Wyoming. A lot of rest areas, if you don't know, have separate parking lots for like mobile RVs and cars or trucks. Usually they're separated. And between where the cars are and where the RVs are, there is an island, a grass island. And in that island is a prairie dog town. Now, what's unique about this prairie dog town is they get fed by people. You shouldn't do it. If you have wildlife around you, it's okay to feed the birds and to put bird seed out. But you shouldn't feed by hand because you could get bit. But these particular animals have been imprinted on humans. They know that people mean food, and so they may see you as an enemy, and they may disappear into their burrows for a little bit. But if you're patient, they'll come back out, and you can watch them, and they're so cool. Another really cool thing about going out west, if you know what you're looking for and you're not driving, I don't suggest you do this while you're driving. But through Wyoming, in certain parts, they have the pronghorn antelope. Now, this is an animal that is native to North America. They're an ancient group of animals. They're not really antelope. They actually are one of the fastest animals in North America. The reason we believe that they are so fast is because we had an animal, not a cheetah, but we call it a cheetah, that was also very fast. And seeing them in their herds is so amazing. Let's talk about geese and ducks and feeding ducks. If you're going to feed ducks, don't feed them bread. Buy birdseed and throw that out to them. Because believe it or not, bread is not really not really nutritious. Also, if you go to a wedding, don't throw rice because rice is not good for wildlife either. My recommendation is to throw birdseed. They will eat it. Okay. I don't want to, kids don't know any better, but adults, if you're going to take your kids out to feed the ducks or the geese, don't use bread. Another really cool nature experience was going to Yellowstone National Park. You're going to see animals there that you can only see in zoos in most places. We were lucky on our trip to see buffalo so close to the car. You could have rolled down the window, put your hand out, and touched a buffalo. No joke. We had a minivan at the time, and at the shoulder, this buffalo was the size of our car. No joke. We saw elk. In fact, if you know my dad, you'll know that my dad was raised on a farm and will talk to any animal like it was a cow. Seriously, this elk followed us for a good 10 feet before it decided to run off and do its own thing. Sometimes the nature experience that you get is not the one you want. I got a phone call one day from my brother. There's a dead animal. I think it's a wolverine on the road. I want you to come with me and see if you can figure out what it is. When I first saw it from a distance, I thought, oh, it's somebody's bulldog that got hit. Nah, it wasn't. It was a badger, an American badger. And so a little bit later on another topic, I called the DNR because I wanted to talk to one of the biologists about something. And he said that they had been expanding their range a little bit and they're here. We don't see them that often, but they're here. And that is so cool to know that there's a predator like that in our area. Another time we were driving along the road in, I think, Nevada or California, and right up the road in a little river or little pond, there was a moose, a flat out moose. Coolest thing ever. I don't suggest. Hello, welcome. If you can't see me and you want to participate in chat, and you're on your phone, look up in the corner, the right-hand corner, I believe. Look for something that says open an app. Click on that, and it should bring you into chat. Hopefully. But it's the coolest thing ever being out with nature. If you're not driving, live for those opportunities. Birdseed is a little bit expensive, but if you can afford it, nothing wrong with putting food out for the birds. If you in the spring, if you have yarn that you're not using, cut it up, hang it up in your trees. The birds will use that to make nesting material. There are hobbies that you can do that can take you out in nature. We're going to be talking about that eventually. Make use of it. By all means, do it. Be smart about your nature experiences. If you are watching an animal and it starts showing signs of stress or it's acting defensively, back off. Let the animal do what it's going to do, but back off, and you will have a really cool experience. When I was in college, the colleges behind the lake had nesting pairs of mute swans, which, if you don't know what a mute swan is, they're the swans that you always see in England. They have the red bill and that black knot right above the bill. Not the best birds they have around. They are an invasive species, but this story is pretty cool. So me and some friends, we're going to go out. We're going to feed them because we have time between classes. We figured, why not go out and feed them? So we went out, and we're not the only ones that do this, by the way. We're doing this. And I just said not to do that, but again, we were silly college kids. I didn't know what I know now. But we're out there, and mom and dad come up. And remember, I'm a small guy. I'm only 5 foot. When these birds came out of the water, I was shocked. I did not know how big these birds really were. They were almost as big as me. I'm not joking. They weren't acting defensive. They were taking the bread and eating it, not from our hands, but they probably would have. Next thing I know, there were, I can't remember, I think they're called cygnets, baby swans. Anyway, the babies came up. Right. We could have reached down and picked up baby swans. I don't suggest you do that because an adult swan, believe it or not, can break your arm. And if a adult swan can break a man's arm, imagine what it would do to my little arm. So I backed off, but that was sort of cool that they trusted people enough to bring the babies up. That's a good thing and a bad thing. You don't want wildlife to be that used to people. That creates problems, or it can create problems. We have 10 minutes. If you have questions, I promise you we are going to be talking about how you can bring wildlife into your yard. And in that, I'm going to suggest ways that you can do that. Some of them are going to be expensive. Some of them are just going to be little things. Some of them, if you live in a trailer, and I don't mean a trailer, but a mobile home, maybe a little bit harder to do because your yard is a little bit smaller, and there are rules that you have to follow. So you may not be able to do them. But we're going to talk about that anyway. Next Tuesday, I am going to show you how to set up a tank for a tarantula. I don't know how I'm going to do that. Live that day is going to look a little bit different than it does today. That Friday's live is going to be geologic specimens, and the next Friday or the next Saturday, we are going to have a trivia night. So if you are coming into my live from Facebook, yes, definitely. But we're going to talk about what plants to plant to do that. But if you can, I will post my Instagram link. And it should take you directly to the link. And that's the way to really maybe get on and watch if you can't get into this. And I don't know why some people have issues getting in. But if you have create a link if you create a profile on YouTube, even if you don't watch videos or even if you don't make videos, you will have a much easier time getting in. But nature is out there. You can do so much to bring nature into your yard. And we're going to talk about that, I promise. I have some really cool things planned. So the following Tuesday, we are going to talk about cloning extinct animals. That Friday, we're going to do, I don't know how I'm going to do it. We're going to talk about the importance of leaf litter and plant stems in your yard and in the garden. The following Tuesday, we're going to talk about ways to encourage wildlife to visit your yard. So in 2 weeks, I'm going to teach you some local animals that live in our area that you might see to help you enjoy what's out there a little bit more. We're going to talk about pets and wildlife. We're probably going to talk about some diseases that can be passed. We're going to talk about wildlife laws that may seem silly to you, but in the long run will protect you. We're going to talk about wildlife photographers' code of honor, hobbies that can help get you outside, and know before you buy. Yeah, so lots of things. I'm going to be coming up with some ideas for lives because I need to keep you guys interested. And so, yes, Saturdays are going to be lighter lives. They're not always going to be nature orientated. But hopefully I've got you excited because spring is coming up. Ways that you can seek out wildlife, be smart about it, enjoy it. Even if you're doing it from the comfort of your home, you can do it. It's possible. It is 7:54. I have been talking for a while. It is your turn to talk to me. And again, if you can like this live, that helps people find me. The way you give it a like is to click on the I believe the thumbs up or click on the hearts. That helps too. I'm going to do that. Oh, I can't. Yes, I can. I shouldn't, but I'm going to because what the heck. Nature is amazing. I'm hoping to bring a little bit of that into your lives, into my lives. It's free, guys. I mean, come on. For the most part, it's free. So, yeah. If you have comments that you want to leave, watch the video. It'll be out on YouTube. Eventually, you can watch it on there. If you ever miss a lives are always kept, so you can go back and watch them. They're in the lives playlist. All of the videos are. If you have an animal that you love, look it up in my channel. There might be a video on it. I just got done on my other channel. We finished up a week of pygmy hippopotamuses. I learned stuff that I didn't know. I always do. That's what I love about doing these videos. Carol, what do you think? Any last thoughts? Any last questions? I'm here to answer them. Thank you for coming in. I don't know who you are. I wish I did, but I don't. I can't see you, which sucks. It stinks, rather. You can plant plants. You can put water out. Water is a great way to do it. You can put out nesting material for birds, even lint from a dryer. Put that out where you can see it. The birds will grab it. Don't put plastic out for birds. That's just not cool. But yes, plastic does end up in their things. It's not cool. Also, if you're coming into lives, you're more than welcome to participate in polls too. Also on Facebook, there is a group. It's called Nature Guy X46 Presents. If you're interested in that, click, let me know that you want to join, and I will send you an invite. I don't think you can invite yourself to that because I believe it's a private group. So, and I keep it private because then I can control who comes in and we don't get spammed, because that's the thing. So I am going to end live for tonight. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for participating. Didn't get anybody on Instagram tonight. It is a Saturday night, so people may not be as apt to come in, but we are going to keep plugging on. I am going live on Tuesday at 7 p.m. And again, we are going to learn how to set up a tank for a tarantula. And after that, I think we're going to play some trivia too. So that way we have something to do while we're waiting. It's going to be a surprise. I don't know which one we're doing, but come and enjoy. And with that, I'm going to end live for tonight. I will see you Tuesdays for live. Carol, I will see you tomorrow. I still have stuff that I have to do to get ready for tomorrow, so I will talk to you peeps later.